Tuesday evening, June 13th, 2023. You are listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Nothing can beat this. You know, if you say 6 to 8 inches of snow fell this time of the year, that would be like a joke, a total joke. What if you were to say a 6 to 8 inch ice storm fell in Boulder, Colorado? Actually, this time around, what happened, temperatures, it was warm, it was summer-like, and there were more, Boulder, Colorado got several inches of ice on the road due to dime-size hail yesterday, but there were more significant accumulating hailstorms, reports the Washington Post, a couple days ago in Douglas County and Lemon. They had as much as 6 to 8 inches of hail down there. Here is, for those people who want to actually hear more than just these wild things, they want to actually have an understanding of what's going on. So this is actually what we're going to explain it over here. You see, the freeze level yesterday was 13,000 feet. That's okay. That's very high up into the atmosphere. Generally, they say every 1,000 feet you go up, the temperatures drop about 5.6 degrees, I believe it is. So you're going 13,000 feet up. So I think it's every 5,000. I have to look back on it. All right. But anyways, 13,000 feet is where the freezing level was. But the whole thing, that's 13,000 feet above sea level. The storms were 30,000 feet high. The storms were 30,000 feet tall or more. And remember that Denver is 5,000 feet up. So this hail had to travel 8,000 feet. But that's it, 8,000 feet, and remain ice all the way down to the ground. Temperatures, usually in these thunderstorms, you have temperatures, they start off in the summertime in the 80s, you drop into the 70s, maybe cooler. But this is a place where whenever there's any type of instability, the hail starts right away, even in the summertime. That's what it reports the Washington Post. It says, we are kind of a local maximum for hail, explained Harris, Hiris, of Boulder's proneness to hail. We get hail as soon as we start getting instability in the spring. It continues into the summer. It peaks in that May, June, July period. So the thunderstorms popped up at 1 or 2 p.m. and hail. There was also very heavy rain that occurred. You have 4 to 5 inches of rain over a couple-day period. That's just, the city received a record 4.02 inches of rain Monday, producing a 2-day total of 5.49 inches, and that's for Boulder in Colorado. Near Canyon City, 35 miles to the southwest of Colorado Springs, hail exceeded the size of golf balls, reaching 2 inches in diameter. And a report says the vehicle is stranded in a foot of hail. That's what a report says. This comes from the Washington Post. When it comes to hail, I think that nothing is better than the Washington Post. The articles are just great on hail. So I don't know. They tend to get somehow they get a hold of these cities with these enormous hailstorms that I don't get to read about in other places, but it's actually happening. You'll even see pictures of it. I mean, I don't know about the foot. I haven't seen a picture of the foot, but it's, so this is just, it's hard to even imagine that. It's hard to imagine a foot of ice on the ground in the summertime. Even a foot of snow. I mean, this is really unbelievable stuff, but this is due to a very not June weather pattern, but we're going from one extreme to the other extreme, as we like to say. And I know the crowd is very happy, especially happy, because the next extreme that we're going to is head first into summer on the highest level you can imagine. Texas, which has had this cold pull of air with powerful jet streams as if it's March, as if it's nowhere near summer, it's all over with. We have a dome of heat that comes in. The Washington Post again reports that there's no end to the heat in sight. That must be referring to South Texas, because Dallas, Texas, the National Weather Service over there is not willing to go past the beginning week next week. There might be a cool down on the Red River that on Sunday, which is the borderline of Oklahoma and Texas due to thunderstorms. So it's not a real cool down. It's like a thunderstorm cool down. And then the heat continues into early next week. That's what the National Weather Service says. But apparently the Washington Post reports, and I think they get it from the National Weather Service, there's no end to the heat in sight. Probably that's referring to places south of Dallas. If you saw yesterday's screenshot, showed a temperature, a high of 112 degrees. That's not for Dallas. Dallas is about 10 degrees cooler than that. High temperatures in the low hundreds. You know, the heat starts in Dallas on Thursday, but temperatures already yesterday for Brownsville in the mid-90s. We reported earlier today that a lot of the initial solar insolation went towards evaporating whatever wetness there was in the soil, says the National Weather Service. Therefore, highs were only in the mid-90s, really lower to upper 90s. There were some spots in the upper 90s, but also, therefore, the computer models were giving you numbers as if there was no moisture in the soil. So according to those computer models, the solar insolation was going completely to heat up the temperatures. It would be on cracked grounds, so temperatures were much higher, but forecasters intervened as they should, and they came out with accurate forecasts. But as time goes on, we're going to see that moisture, says the Brownsville National Weather Service, that moisture is going to evaporate from the soil, plus the dome of heat will be strengthening, plus the dome of heat is going to move right over that area. So things are really going to heat up. The cities which are not going to hit 100, that's because the energy is going towards high dew points instead of temperatures. So the heat index will be exactly the same no matter where you are. Pretty much exactly the same. 112, 107 to 112, perhaps some locations higher, no matter where you are. The question is, will the temperature be 107 to 112 with little humidity, or will in Galveston, Texas, you'll have highs in the upper 80s, but the heat index also 107 to 112. It happens to be really cool how it works out like that, that if the amount of energy, if you want to know how much energy is in the atmosphere, heat index turns out to be a more accurate expression of this, more accurate way to measure this than the temperature or the dew point alone. So of course, the heat index wasn't made for that type of a measurement. It was made to tell you what it feels like to people when the winds are 5.6 miles an hour. But it turns out that the heat index could be used for that as well. And that's what we're going to see happening in Texas. Thursday is really when Thursday for Houston, but Friday really, once you get into Dallas, you might have to wait till Friday. And we still have... St. Louis is still, we know that summer heat will be in the St. Louis area as well, but this type of heat is nowhere near there. They're out of the woods so far. They're out of the woods, unlike last summer. Last summer, the dome of heat went head first into St. Louis. This year, we're in Texas. There have been years where it stayed in Texas almost the entire time. But either way, temperatures are expected to hit at least 90 in the St. Louis area over the next several days. Further north than that, we could see some higher dew points, making it even up into Minnesota. But we've spoken enough about the heat for right now. This is mainly about Texas, and Louisiana, by the way, is also going to be extremely hot, mid-90s to low hundreds for that area as well. And Baton Rouge has only hit 106 times in its history since 1870, as we mentioned on the previous episode. This episode, besides the heat, that was really covered last episode, was really all about the hail, something magnificent. So that's what we wanted to cover. This has been less than 10 minutes of the actual episode. We might add on a couple things at the beginning and at the end. Have a great day. Enjoy the heat. Stay safe. And we have a screenshot of some safety features on YouTube for the heat. You've been listening to the podcast Weather with Enthusiasm.